Alrighty. Hey guys, welcome back. Nice to see you. How are you? I'm doing fine. Thanks for asking. So, I thought that I would come on here and narrate a little bit of my onsen trip for you guys because I did promise that I would vlog it, and I did. I did, and let me tell you, it was an experience for sure. It's also been over 5 weeks since I've come to Japan, and yeah, it's been a bit of a roller coaster. It's been good hanging out with the grandparents. Yeah, I don't know. It's been a lot. We have a lot to catch up on, but I'll catch you up on this little road trip first because I know you guys are just itching to find out. You guys are itching to know what happened. So the day before we went to the onsen and did the road trip, I thought, you know what? I'm gonna have a young person day because I'm gonna be alone with these 85-year-olds for the whole weekend. So I might as well have a bit of time to like do some youthful things, you know? So, I went on a little solo trip to Harajuku. If you guys have been to Japan, you're probably familiar with it, but it's like very young and hip and all that stuff. So I took the train down from where my grandparents stay. It's like maybe an hour away. I love taking the train. I don't know, something about like the train, it's super clean. You can look outside the window, you see the whole of the city. I don't know, it's kind of nice. So I took the train down and was walking around, and they've got all these little like thrift stores. So I was like looking around there, didn't end up buying anything. I did come across this really sick Migos shirt that I really wish that I bought, but for some reason I didn't. I don't know, I have this like weird thing whenever I travel. I'm like, I'll save my money for something else. I find stuff that I really like and I'm like, no, actually, I'm not going to spend my money on that. I don't know if you guys have that too. But anyway, I also came across this random Rolling Stones pop-up store. It was like 3 levels and they had this whole immersive experience. I went in there, had a little look-see-loo. Yeah, didn't obviously buy anything. I'm not a Rolling Stones fan. Like I don't know. I just like went in and had a little look because everyone was having a little look and I am a sheep. So I just do whatever everyone else is doing. And then that was kind of my day out by myself, I guess. And then the next day was obviously the road trip day. My grandparents' friends rocked up at our house at like 10:30-ish. So we got in the car, drove for like an hour initially, and then we stopped by a little pit stop for some tea, which was nice. And the thing about like I don't know how it is wherever you guys live. In Australia, for example, if you go on a road trip, you have these little gas stations and little pit stops, but all they have is like a KFC and a McDonald's and a Subway maybe, you know? It's always like those kind of chain stores. And like that's fine, but in Japan, oh my god, they have everything. They had a bunch of tea. Not that there's like a huge difference in tea. I'm not that old. Like I don't really know the difference between tea, but it was good. And they had udon and like all this other really nice stuff and really nice pastries and like gifts that you could buy for your friends, like little cookies and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, like if only everywhere else had this kind of stuff. It's part of the experience, which is why I'm telling you about it because it was pretty crazy. And then when we were leaving, there was like I don't know what was going on, but there was like a whole biker gang like getting all revved up and stuff. I'm not really sure what was going on, but it was like I want to say at least 20 of them just like revving their engine. We were in the car for another maybe like 45 minutes and we decided to stop at some family restaurant, which was really good. All these little restaurants are super cheap. I had a whole like, a donburi meal, which is like when you have like rice. I think I had negitoro, which is minced tuna, an udon bowl as well, some salad, and it was maybe 800, 900 yen per person, which is $9. Like what? It's so crazy. It's actually ridiculous how cheap the food is here. I cannot stress that enough. So at a lot of these restaurants, they have this thing called like a drink bar where you pay a certain amount. Like it's not a crazy amount, but then you can like take as many drinks as you want. And so I was going up with my grandma's friend and she was telling me, she was like, oh yeah, like this place is super cool. The drink bar is free. So I started to like get the drinks, bring it back to the table, and everyone else was like, no, we have to pay for that. I just looked at her, I was like, why did you tell me that? She's like, oh, I don't know. I just kind of thought it was free. Keep in mind, she's probably maybe losing the plot a little bit. She's fine. Like, she still knows what's going on. Probably shouldn't have trusted her word. I didn't know. I like only hung out with her for the last 2 hours. I didn't know this. Nobody warned me. So I ended up accidentally taking the drink bar, so we had to pay for that. We also ended up getting dessert, which was so yum. So then after lunch, it was maybe another hour and a half. So the trip total was maybe 3 hours long. And it really reminded me of, I don't know if you guys have seen Totoro or like any of the Studio Ghibli, I never know how to say that, and I should because I'm Japanese, the Studio Ghibli stuff, like really reminded me of that. And apparently the area that we were driving to was part of the inspiration for Spirited Away, if you guys know Sento Chihiro.
なんかほら、千と千尋
そう。
あれのモデルになった建物もあるらしい。
あ、そう。
And I was like, oh my god, that makes so much sense, because as we were driving through, there was like a bunch of tunnels and stuff. And I literally said that to them. I was like, this really looks like that one scene in Spirited Away. And they were like, oh yeah, it was partly inspired by this area. And I was like, well, makes a bunch of sense, doesn't it? After like an hour and a half more, we got to the hotel. That's not to say we didn't get there without getting lost a couple times. Had to call the concierge and be like, oh, which way do we go? But anyway, we made it finally. And it was beautiful. Oh my goodness. We were in a place called Shima, the Shima Onsens, if any of you know where that is. I mean, I didn't previously, but that's where we were. Went up to our room and... Okay, so I was kind of stressed before about sharing a room with everyone. I ended up sleeping in a room with my grandma, so... that was chill, thank God. The room was really nice. We had a view of the mountains. So when we got there, we just sat down, had a bit of tea, had a bit of a rest, because, you know, old people do need to be resting quite often. Also, I was joking around with them, because I felt like that whole trip, I was just kind of, you know, one of those carrier donkeys? When you go up to the mountains or like you go on a hike and they bring a little donkey with you and just like stack all the luggage on them. That was literally me. I mean, I'm so happy to do that. They didn't have to ask. I just kind of saw all their bags and like swooped them all up and carried them all. And they're like, how are you doing that? But you know, if I'm going to come along on a trip with 4 80-year-olds, I might as well be of use. And then we went to the onsen, and I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of stressed about it. I don't know why. I was just like, oh, it might be really uncomfortable. And you know what, up until you actually strip, it was pretty uncomfortable. I was like kind of waiting around for my grandma and her friend to go first. I don't know, it just like made me feel weird. As soon as we were actually in the onsen, it was so fine. Then you realize everyone else is in the exact same boat, and also everyone's like freaking 70 years old. So I was like, you know what, whatever, they're not judging me. It had a really nice view of the mountains. They had like an indoor onsen and an outdoor one. Outdoor one was also super nice because it was quite cold up in the mountains. So that was really nice. We went back to the room, and then dinner was at, I want to say like 5:30. You know how old people are. They eat early, and I can't fault them for it. I'm getting with the program here. Like, I'm eating at 5:30, not a problem. And it was like a buffet. They had sushi, they had noodles, they had everything you could ever want. Oh my gosh, I was going crazy. I mean, you only live once. I'm only gonna be up in that onsen with, you know, all of them once probably in my life. And then after that, we went upstairs, chit-chatted a bit more. It's so funny. We were also like sitting there in our room and stuff and like talking. Before I went, I was wondering like, what are we gonna talk about? What do old people talk about? Turns out they talk about how old they are. Like, oh yeah, you know, like my back's really hurting, and oh, you like, I forget stuff sometimes, and my knees really hurt. And I'm sitting there like I can't really say that I have the same problems. How do I relate to that? So I was like, yeah, must suck, hey. Do you take medicine for that, or? And then we decided that night that a few of us would go to the onsen in the morning, but we were checking out pretty early. It ended up only being me and my grandma's friend. So I woke up at 6:30 in the morning, and we went down, just the two of us, me and my grandma's bestie, and I was quite worried about what we would talk about. We were chit-chatting the whole time. We got into the onsen, we were just laughing, chit-chatting. She's also just such a like funny lady, so it was entertaining nonetheless. There's like this little fountain type thing that the onsen water comes out of, and there was these little like crystallized things, and she was like, that looks like salt, do you reckon that's salt? And I was like, bruv, I don't know, like, I couldn't tell you what that is. And she's like, okay, I'm gonna have a lick and I'm gonna tell you what it is. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, what? There's other people in the onsen at this time. So she has a lick and she's like, doesn't taste like salt. You wanna have a lick? You should check what it is. And I was like, okay. So I go over, have a little lick of these random crystals. Turns out it's sulfur. Is that dangerous? Should I have done that? Probably not. If she's telling me to lick the random crystals on the fountain, I'ma lick it. Sorry, I'm doing it. So then after we got out of the onsen, we went for breakfast. Again, buffet. Love that. We checked out. We took a bunch of photos as well. It was so cute. My grandma's friend's husband was like taking photos of us and whatever, and he's like, no, like I want one with all of us in it. And I was like, oh, like I can take the photo for you guys. And he's like, no, wait. And so he brings this ginormous tripod from out of his car and has this little like Canon camera that's probably 20 years old. Oh, it was so cute. So he like set up the tripod and stuff like outside the hotel in front of the little garden. But he took a bunch of like self-timer photos and stuff. Ended up printing out like 3 copies so that I could take some home with me. And then we were in the car again, heading back towards the city. But not without going to the karaoke. We did end up doing that. I did say that that was going to happen, and it sure did. I'm not gonna lie, I think I was more embarrassed to do the karaoke than I was to go to the onsen, for sure. Because, I mean, even though it was just us 5 in the room, I don't know if you guys have ever been, but there are these little, like, rooms that you can book out, and, like, you order some drinks, and you have this, like, TV that has little, sometimes you have a little music video, the lyrics pop up and whatever, and you get, like, a mic and everything. I don't know what it is about it. I was so uncomfortable like doing karaoke, besides the fact I still sang like 4 songs maybe, because they were all like, no, you have to, and I was like, okay. But somehow that's way more embarrassing than being stark naked in front of like a bunch of random people. I don't know why. Maybe it's just the blasting of your own voice in the big speakers, and like, ugh. Yeah, I was really embarrassed, but they all had a good time, and that's what matters. So then after that, we continued to drive back to the city. We stopped by this little market that sells all the mountain vegetables and stuff that you can't really get in the city. Well, I mean, you can get them in the city, but they're like a lot cheaper, a lot better quality. So we went there. It was really beautiful. A lot of dogs walking around. Made me miss my dog quite a lot. We had lunch there, walked around a bit, fed the kois in the koi pond. It was just a really beautiful day as well, so that always makes it better, I guess. Then got in the car again and came back to the city. And by that time, it was already quite late, so we thought we would stop by this little Chinese restaurant for dinner. And the thing is, okay, this restaurant, right, was good. The food was great, all that stuff. However, okay, one thing you need to know about me, I'm kind of a little bit terrified of technology. I don't know how to describe it. Something about AI, like all that stuff, like the Black Mirror stuff, freaks me out. I can't comprehend that stuff. It's really freaky to me. And this restaurant had one of those, you know, those like robot waiter things? Ooh, they give me the heebie-jeebies. I can't. But they had one of those robot waiters, which I've always hated. I always avoid restaurants that have that just because it really freaks me out. So besides like the little robot, it was a really nice restaurant and I would go back, but I don't know where it is and I can't recommend it because I don't know the name of it or anything. But you're just gonna have to trust me on this one, okay? It was a good restaurant. And that was basically the end of our trip. They drove us back to our house. So it was only for one night, but you know what? I'm actually really glad that I got to have that experience, because when else am I ever gonna say I went on a road trip with my grandparents? Like, that doesn't really happen. I don't know, just me, like not including my parents or my sister or anything like that. It was a very unique experience and I'm not gonna forget that trip, so I'll always have that. No regrets, for sure. That was definitely a silver lining in the whole getting deported spiel. It's been almost 5 weeks since I've been here. There are some exciting things happening. You know what? Deportation, it's had its highs and lows, but I can't complain. I went on a road trip with my grandparents. Like, what? I can't complain. So yeah, that was my little onsen road trip with my grandparents and their other 80-year-old friends. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found it a little entertaining. I hope you guys have a lovely day wherever you are. And I'll see you guys later.
Ayy, I got the recipe, never gonna let any op get the best of me. Thought it was distance, but haters.